Listen closely, because the sound you hear isn't just the wind through the canopy. It is the rhythmic breathing of a system that has existed for 1,000,000 years. This is not a fairy tale. This is a survivalist's audit of a biological landscape where every shadow has a heartbeat and every silence is a calculated threat. We are looking at a world governed by a single, unbreakable code, the law of the jungle. But at the center of this perfect mechanism, there is a glitch, a man cub named Mowgli. He is a biological asset out of place, a creature with the heart of a wolf but the hands of a builder. To understand the weight of this story, we have to look past the talking animals and see the tactical reality of the jungle. It is a place of immense kinetic energy and brutal displacement. We are looking at a 2016 cinematic infrastructure, moving from the training grounds of the Seoni wolf pack to the scorched rocks of the water truce. This is a journey about finding a place in a hierarchy that was never designed for humans. We are auditing the survival strategies, the predator logic, and the eventual system failure that leads to an all-out forest war. The scale here is staggering. Every leaf and every hair on a panther's back was rendered to simulate a living, breathing reality. But why does this version feel so much heavier than the one we saw decades ago? It is because the stakes feel grounded in real-world physics. Mowgli isn't just a boy, he is a target, and the jungle is closing in. We observe how a single cub can destabilize an entire ecosystem simply by existing. Prepare for a deep dive into the green shadows. The training begins, and the cub's kinetic velocity is put to the ultimate test against the panther's superior biology. This is where the story truly begins to breathe. Mowgli is running, but he isn't running for fun. This is a tactical simulation. He is being hunted by Bagheera, the Black Panther, a creature that represents the peak of predatory engineering. Watch the boy's movement. He tries to mimic the wolves, staying low to the ground, using the four-legged gait of his brothers. But his anatomy is his greatest constraint. He lacks the claws for traction and the power-to-weight ratio for the explosive leaps required to keep up with the pack. Bagheera's voice cuts through the humidity, reminding the cub that if he were a wolf, he would be dead by now. This isn't cruelty, it is the calibration of a biological asset. Mowgli is constantly being told to forget his tricks. These tricks are human tools, the use of vines, the use of levers. The panther wants Mowgli to survive as a wolf, but the boy's internal programming is fundamentally different. This creates a friction between his upbringing and his natural ingenuity. It is a fascinating look at the conflict between learned behavior and genetic hardware. The wolf pack, led by Akela, represents the social infrastructure. They are a collective, a system state that thrives on unity. The strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. This isn't just a poem, it is a tactical manual for survival against larger predators. Mowgli tries to integrate, tries to recite the law, but his presence is a constant reminder of the world outside the forest, a world that uses fire and steel. As we watch the cubs play, we see the innocence before the biological fallout of the upcoming threat. The cinematography here uses a tight focal length to keep us trapped in the boy's perspective. We feel the height of the trees and the density of the brush. Every snap of a twig is a potential system error. Bagheera knows the cub cannot stay a wolf forever. He sees the boy using a vine to gain a vertical advantage, a human move that defies the wolf's ground-based logic. This is the first anchor beat, the realization that Mowgli's survival depends on the very things the jungle tells him to suppress. Bagheera is the auditor, the one who measures the boy's progress against the harsh metrics of the wild. He is cold, clinical, and protective. When the cub fails the training run, it isn't just a loss of points. It is a sign that the boy is outgrowing the wolf's skin he was forced into. We see the displacement of the cub as he looks at his hands, the only hairless skin in a sea of fur. As the act progresses, we see the weather patterns change. The monsoon has failed. The jungle is entering a state of thermal distress. This leads us to the peace rock, a unique environmental protocol where the usual predator-prey logic is suspended. This is the most significant social event in the jungle hierarchy. It is a moment of absolute vulnerability for all assets involved. Moving into the water truce, we see the cub face his first true threat vector, a shadow from the past that has returned to claim what it lost. The system state has shifted to an extreme drought. The jungle has shrunk. The water has retreated, revealing the peace rock. This is a diplomatic sanctuary. Observe the variety of biological assets gathered here: deer, boar, peacocks, all standing inches away from the predators that usually hunt them. The kinetic tension is palpable, but the water truce protocol holds. It is a survival mechanism. If the prey dies of thirst, the predator has no future fuel. It is a cold, calculated peace. Then, the air changes. The displacement of the crowd tells us everything. Shere Khan has arrived. The tiger is a massive biological engine of destruction. But he is a damaged one. His face is a map of past thermal trauma, burns inflicted by the red flower, human fire. His presence is a kinetic threat to the entire assembly. He doesn't come for water, he comes for the scent of the man cub. The tiger's logic is simple. A man cub grows into a man, and a man is a terminal error for the jungle. The dialogue between Akela and Shere Khan is a masterclass in suspense. The wolf stands his ground, relying on the collective strength of the pack, but the tiger is an apex soloist. He mocks the wolf's law. He smells Mowgli, hiding behind the fur of his mother, Raksha. The tiger's voice is deep, resonant, a low-frequency vibration that signals imminent danger. He gives the pack an ultimatum: deliver the boy, or the truce won't be the only thing that breaks when the rains return. Analyze the boy's reaction. He is small, insignificant against the tiger's mass, but he doesn't cower. This is the first time we see the boy's internal resolve. He is a biological asset under a direct threat vector, yet he remains stationary. This is the point of no return for the Seoni pack. The presence of the cub is no longer a secret. It is a liability that could lead to the total destruction of the wolf infrastructure. The pack must now decide if one life is worth the safety of the collective. The visual language here uses wide shots to emphasize the tiger's dominance over the watering hole. Shere Khan moves with a slow, heavy inertia, showing he has no fear of the hundreds of animals around him. He is the glitch in the truce. As he leaves, the suspense doesn't dissipate. It settles into the bones of the jungle. The wolves meet in the shadows, a frantic council to decide the cub's fate. Raksha, the mother wolf, provides the emotional anchor. Her logic is biological, while Akela's is strategic. This concludes with the heartbreaking realization that the cub must go. To stay is to invite the tiger's wrath upon the innocent. Bagheera steps forward, offering to take the boy to the man village. This is a displacement of the cub from his only known home to a place of unknown variables. The suspense builds as Mowgli says his goodbyes, a sequence that highlights the deep synaptic bonds between the human and his lupine family. The jungle is no longer a playground. It is a hunting ground. The cub and the panther are moving through the high-contrast shadows of the deep forest. This is the exodus. The goal is the man village, a sanctuary of fire and stone, but the tiger does not wait for the rains to return. Shere Khan is a tactical stalker. He knows the cub's path. The ambush is a sudden explosion of kinetic force. One moment there is silence. The next, a 500-pound predator is a blur of orange and black, hurtling through the tall grass. Bagheera's response is immediate. He engages the tiger to buy Mowgli time to escape. This is a clash of high-tier biological assets, the panther's agility against the tiger's raw mass. Mowgli is told to run, to stay ahead of the scent. The boy plunges into a ravine, a landscape of mud and falling rocks. Here, we witness a massive event of kinetic displacement, the buffalo stampede. Thousands of pounds of living muscle are channeled through a narrow pass, creating a chaotic environment where one wrong step is a terminal error. Mowgli's survival in the stampede is a diagnostic of his human ingenuity. He doesn't try to outrun the buffalo, he uses the terrain. He climbs onto the back of a beast, using its mass as a shield against the trampling hooves. He then leaps into the mud, disappearing from the tiger's sight line. Shere Khan stands at the top of the ridge, a frustrated predator. He has lost his target in the chaos of the stampede's inertia. The boy is now alone, separated from his protector, lost in a part of the jungle that has no law. This is a pivot point in the narrative blueprint. Mowgli is no longer under the wolf pack's protection or the panther's guidance. He is a solitary asset in a hostile system. The cinematography shifts to a darker, more volumetric haze. The rain begins to fall, a heavy, oppressive downpour that masks the sounds of the jungle. Mowgli wanders into a forest of vines and ancient trees, a place where the sunlight never reaches the floor. This is where we encounter the territory of the serpent. The boy is cold, hungry, and vulnerable. Every movement in the shadows is a potential strike. He finds a giant snakeskin, a visual indicator of the massive scale of the inhabitants here. We are moving into the territory of Ka, the python. This isn't a fight of claws and teeth. It is a battle of the mind. The python's eyes are a kaleidoscope of hypnotic stimulus, designed to bypass the cub's survival instincts and lure him into a terminal embrace. As the cub is pulled into the coils, we see his past, a forensic reconstruction of how he came to the jungle. We see the red flower again, the fire that killed his father and scarred the tiger. This provides the necessary background logic for the tiger's hatred. The python's voice is a sibilant whisper, a deep, soothing tone that masks the killing intent. Mowgli is seconds away from being consumed when a new variable enters the equation, a massive, furred asset with a very different motivation. The displacement of the snake is violent and sudden. The bear doesn't use words or hypnosis. He uses raw, propulsive force. He grabs the python and hurls her away, a total disruption of her constrictive logic. Mowgli falls to the ground, unconscious, his biological systems shutting down from the shock. The bear drags the boy into the sunlight. This is a massive pivot. We have moved from the lethal seduction of the snake to the opportunistic salvation of the bear. When Mowgli wakes up, he is on a sun-drenched ledge, and the atmosphere has shifted from horror to a strange, lazy comfort. Baloo is a bear of immense scale. He is a scavenger, a freelancer in a jungle of professionals. He tells Mowgli that he saved his life and now the cub owes him a favor. This is a new social contract. Unlike the wolves, who had a code of honor, Baloo has a job for the boy. He wants honey. This is our first look at how the bear views the man cub, as a specialized tool for accessing high-altitude biological resources. Mowgli tries to use his wolf training, trying to look like a threat. But against a bear that weighs over half a ton, the optics are ridiculous. Baloo realizes that those human tricks are exactly what he needs. The sun is high, and the Kelvin scale of the image has shifted toward warm, golden tones. The suspense of the dark forest has been replaced by the tactical engineering of the honey heist. This is where Mowgli begins to realize that being human might be his greatest weapon. The target is honey, a high-density biological fuel stored in combs located on a sheer cliff face. For a bear, the gravitational constraint makes this a zero-probability harvest. But for a man cub, the tactical geometry changes. Mowgli identifies lianas, vines with high tensile strength. He begins a process of weaving, a hardware update for a human. He is building a harness. This is the moment the boy stops mimicking the jungle and starts manipulating it. The physics of the honey harvest are a masterclass in kinetic friction and anchor points. Mowgli descends the cliff face, his weight supported by the vine loop infrastructure. He uses a lever, a propulsive force to dislodge the combs. Around him, the bee swarm operates as a high-velocity defense system. The specular glint of the bees in the high-Kelvin sunlight creates a visual haze of threat. Mowgli is stung, a biological fallout he accepts as a cost of the mission. Once the honey is displaced, Baloo introduces the boy to a new survival logic, the bare necessities. This is a behavioral model based on the maximization of leisure. It is the opposite of the panther's mission state. They float in a river, and we audit the displacement of water by the bear's massive frame. Mowgli sits on the bear's stomach, a human component perfectly integrated into a larger biological raft. However, Bagheera has tracked the boy's scent. He finds Mowgli using tools. Bagheera's synaptic response is one of alarm. He sees the tricks as a dangerous signal that a human is present and evolving. The panther's logic is binary. Mowgli must go to the man village. The bear, however, has grown dependent on the boy's hardware for resource gathering. This creates a friction between the two guardians. Analyze the conversation between the panther and the bear. Bagheera speaks of the tiger's wrath, threat vectors that the bear has ignored. The panther reveals that Akela has been killed, a massive infrastructure failure. This information is withheld from Mowgli to prevent a reckless propulsive move. The boy is caught between these two biological models. He loves the bear's freedom but respects the panther's authority. He continues to refine his tool use, building a small shelter and a more advanced rope and pulley system. The monkeys in the distance, the bandar log, watch with a specular glint of envy. They don't want the honey, they want the ability to create. They see Mowgli as the key to unlocking the red flower. As evening approaches, the monkeys strike with a sudden burst of kinetic velocity. Mowgli is snatched and pulled into the vertical architecture of the trees. The chase through the canopy is a high-octane diagnostic of Mowgli's limitations. He is being passed from hand to hand, a biological parcel being delivered to a dark stone temple. The destination is the cold lairs, a dead system state. Once a seat of human power, it is now a crumbling architecture of basalt and vine. Mowgli is dropped into the central plaza, surrounded by thousands of smaller primate units, each one a twitching variable in a leaderless collective. The destination is a study in leaderless chaos, but as Mowgli is pushed toward the inner sanctum, a massive shape emerges. This is King Louie, a gigantopithecus, a 12-foot engine of muscle and orange fur. His presence is a massive calibration error for the jungle. He is too big for the forest and too intelligent for the pack. His internal programming is dominated by an obsession with fire. He views the man cub as a unique decryption key. He believes that if he can harness combustion, he will achieve a state of parity with humans. The negotiation is a study in psychological pressure. Louie offers protection in exchange for the secret of the flame. But the boy doesn't know how to create the red flower. This creates a terminal error. The giant's demeanor shifts from a lazy warmth to a cold, predatory focus. The rescue by Baloo and Bagheera initializes here. The bear uses a social engineering strategy, dancing into the plaza to provide a distraction stimulus. Meanwhile, the panther moves along the upper lens axis, a black shadow against the gray stone. The situation reaches a state of total structural failure when the rescue is detected. Louie stands, a terrifying displacement of space. He begins to move through his own temple with the destructive inertia of a landslide. Mowgli flees into the crawl spaces, hearing the stone cracking behind him. Every pillar that Louie destroys brings the ceiling closer to a terminal state. Louie is buried under the very architecture he tried to use as a throne. The man cub emerges from the ruins. Having heard the truth about Akela, he has reached a state of internal rebellion. He needs the fire. Mowgli reaches the man village, the primary human infrastructure. He reaches into the blaze, a moment of extreme thermal load, and extracts a torch. He is carrying a weapon that can delete the tiger from the system. As he runs back, he unintentionally initializes secondary ignitions. The jungle is entering a state of total environmental collapse. The confrontation at the watering hole is the final diagnostic. He arrives with the torch, but the animals see him as a monster. Shere Khan mocks the boy for bringing the death of the forest. In a move of incredible synaptic resolve, he hurls the torch into the water. He stands defenseless. This is the moment the wolves recalibrate their loyalty. They form a defensive infrastructure around the boy. The battle is a study in high-mass inertia versus collective strategy. The wolves strike at the tiger's flanks, but Shere Khan is an apex engine. Mowgli realizes he must use his human blueprint. He climbs into the burning canopy. The air is thick with cinders. He leads the tiger into the collapsing wood infrastructure. Mowgli reaches a thin branch, a low integrity point. He uses a vine as a lever. As Shere Khan leaps, the wood snaps. The tiger's inertia carries him into the void. Mowgli swings away, his ballistic trajectory keeping him clear of the thermal load. Shere Khan falls into the heart of the fire. The elephants arrive to perform the final engineering audit, displacing the river water to extinguish the flames. Mowgli remains with the pack, but he no longer tries to be a wolf. He is a man cub who uses his tricks for the benefit of the collective. The system state is at 100% efficiency. The jungle book is closed, but the law remains. The man cub is no longer a grounded entity. He has been forcibly integrated into an aerial pipeline managed by the Bandar log. This is a study in mass transfer across a vertical architecture. The monkeys do not operate with a unified plan. They function as a chaotic swarm, a series of unpredictable kinetic vectors that ignore the standard gravity-based logic of the jungle floor. They pass the boy between them as a biological parcel, moving at a velocity that exceeds any terrestrial predator. This high-speed transfer utilizes the tensile strength of the upper branches as a propulsive force. The boy's synaptic response is one of total sensory overload. He is being moved through a world of 360-degree movement, where the concept of a safe path is irrelevant. The destination is the cold layers, a relic of human infrastructure that has suffered a total system-state collapse. The architecture of these ruins shows a blueprint designed for permanence but reclaimed by the wild. The diagnostic of the stone shows a heavy accumulation of moss and volcanic ash, indicating centuries of neglect. This was once a seat of human dominance, a location where the red flower was likely a standard utility. Now, it is a crumbling hardware of basalt and marble. The monkeys occupy this space with a behavioral stimulus rooted in mockery. They play at being human, sitting in the dust of kings, but they lack the internal programming to maintain the system. The stones are held together by nothing but friction and the weight of their own history. The acoustic environment is dominated by the high-frequency chatter of a leaderless army. The monkeys have realized that the man cub is the only asset capable of bridging the gap between their animal state and human technology. They don't just want the boy, they want his cognitive hardware. They want the ability to create. The boy is pushed through a tunnel of gray stone, the lens axis narrowing as he enters the inner sanctum. The volumetric haze here is thick with the dust of pulverized rock. The chromatic saturation is low, emphasizing the gray, dead nature of this environment. It is a stark contrast to the golden Kelvin scale of the honey cliffs. This is a place where biology goes to die and be replaced by a hollow mimicry of civilization. The suspense is not just about the boy's safety. It is about the desecration of the natural order by a species with no law. Bagheera and Baloo are grounded, their land-based biology incapable of matching the monkey's aerial velocity. The panther's logic is failing him. He cannot calculate a rescue path through a three-dimensional maze of falling stones and screaming primates. This is the moment of peak displacement for the man cub. He is isolated from his family and his protectors, standing in the center of a dead world. Every movement in the shadows is a potential strike. Shadows at the back of the temple begin to shift. The displacement of air in the room indicates a high-mass asset is moving. This is King Louie, a biological anomaly that represents a dead branch of the primate tree. He is a Gigantopithecus, a 12-foot engine of muscle and orange fur. His presence is a massive calibration error for the jungle. He is too big for the forest and too intelligent for the pack. His internal programming is dominated by a single obsession: fire. He looks at Mowgli with the diagnostic gaze of a scientist looking at a missing component. He believes the man cub is the only one who can provide the chemical ignition required to initialize the red flower. Louie uses a rhythmic, almost melodic delivery to mask his predatory intent. He offers the boy a deal, a permanent social sanctuary in exchange for the secret of the flame. But the boy doesn't have the secret. This creates a terminal error in the negotiation. The giant's inertia changes from a lazy lounge to a propulsive threat. He begins to stand, his head brushing the ancient ceiling. The structural integrity of the room is immediately compromised by his mass. He is a god in a cage of his own making. The tactical rescue by Baloo and Bagheera initializes as a social engineering strategy. The bear dances into the plaza to provide a distraction stimulus for the thousands of smaller monkeys. He is using his own mass as a target to draw fire away from the boy. Meanwhile, the panther moves along the upper lens axis, a black shadow against the gray stone. This is a multi-point attack designed to exploit the monkey's lack of coordination. But the Bandar log have a numbers advantage that creates a high kinetic load for the rescuers. The plaza becomes a battlefield of teeth and stone. a chaotic diagnostic of survival in the ruins. The chase through the temple is a masterpiece of architectural destruction. Louie is a force of pure displacement. He doesn't move through the corridors. He creates new ones by smashing through the basalt pillars. The dust becomes a volumetric haze so thick that the chromatic saturation drops to near zero. Mowgli is a small, agile asset navigating a collapsing system state. He uses his low mass to his advantage, sliding through cracks in the stone that are too narrow for the giant's fingers. The acoustic environment is a terrifying mix of Louie's deep roars and the sound of falling marble. Every pillar that fails brings the entire temple closer to a terminal structural collapse. As the temple falls, we see the final biological fallout of Louie's ambition. He is buried under the very throne he used to rule his kingdom of shadows. The man-cub emerges into the cold twilight, his body covered in the gray dust of the past. He has been told the truth about Akela, a piece of information that serves as a massive propulsive force for his next move. He doesn't wait for his guardians. He is no longer an asset to be protected. He is a man-cub with a mission of retribution. He is heading for the man village, a journey that will take him into the heart of the fire. The suspense has shifted from a rescue mission to a declaration of war. The boy reaches the primary human infrastructure, a location defined by the presence of the red flower. Mowgli doesn't look at the fire with fear. He looks at it as a tactical upgrade. He reaches into the blaze, a moment of extreme thermal load, and extracts a torch. The specular glint of the sparks against the dark jungle is a visual signal that the law of the jungle is being overwritten. He is carrying a weapon that can delete the tiger from the system. As he runs back toward the Peace Rock, he unintentionally initializes secondary ignitions in the dry underbrush. The jungle is entering a state of total environmental collapse. The confrontation at the watering hole is the final diagnostic of the boy's character. He arrives with the torch, but the animals see him as a monster, not a savior. Shere Khan uses this as a psychological behavioral stimulus, mocking the boy for bringing the death of the forest into their sanctuary. The boy realizes his error in a move of incredible synaptic resolve. He hurls the torch into the water. He stands defenseless, choosing to face the tiger as a member of the pack rather than a man with fire. This is the moment the wolves recalibrate their loyalty. They see the cub's honor. They engage the tiger as a unified infrastructure, providing a kinetic barrier that allows Mowgli to initialize his final trap. The final fight takes place in a world of orange and red, a high-Kelvin environment where the air is thick with cinders and smoke. Mowgli leads the tiger into the burning canopy, utilizing the vertical architecture of the dead trees. The physics here are lethal. The tiger has a high mass and high inertia, making him a poor navigator in a collapsing wood infrastructure. Mowgli, however, is light and agile. He uses a vine as a lever, a human tool that allows him to swing clear of the final structural failure. Shere Khan leaps, his ballistic trajectory meeting nothing but empty air and fire. The predator falls, his biological system ending in the heat of the very thing he feared most. The elephants arrive to perform the final engineering audit. They are the high-mass builders of this world. Using their trunks as propulsive pumps, they displace the river water to extinguish the forest fire. It is a restoration of the system state. The jungle is saved, not by fire, but by the cooperation of its most ancient inhabitants. Mowgli sits on the branch with his friends, a part of the pack but a master of his own human hardware. The forensic audit of his journey is complete. He has moved from a lost biological asset to the architect of a new piece. The final Kelvin scale returns to a lush, healthy green. The man-cub has found his place in the blueprint. Order is restored, and the anomaly has become the anchor.